guys, how are you today? I am just wrapping up one of the extra little cards that I did. I have a new name. I didn't know I have a new name. That's very interesting. Brittany, did you know that I have a new name?
I didn't. What is it?
I have no clue.
Oh.
It just says, Thelma says, Margie, I love your new name. But I don't know who that is. You, never mind. I can read up a little bit further, and it looks like she called me a very interesting spelling of Matthew.
Oh.
So I'm Matthew today, everyone. We'll call it Matthew. No, thanks, Thelma, for letting me tease you a little bit. I did not see that that's what you meant by what you said, but Brittany is here to be able to zoom me down and back out to what we're doing today. I am excited about this. It sounds like a couple of people were able to get their kits ahead of time. And all I'm doing is I'm just making an extra little card to show you how many different pieces you have left over with these. And I will tell you that they definitely get a lot of leftover pieces, and you can make so many fun things with this. So I want to make sure that I say hello to who is here. So hi, Irene, and hi, Glenn. And Thelma is blaming my new name on Naughty Kitty.
Oh, okay.
So that's the end of that. So I'm going to let Brittany go back to what she was doing, and we're going to zoom on down. So then that way I can show you what we have for today. And I have a mess, so we'll just cover that first.
Oh, sorry.
Woohoo!
Did I go too far? Yeah, I did.
I said, just push it a little bit, and if you want to just kind of move it up just a tad, and then
towards you, or towards
just up, and then you can zoom in a little bit closer.
It goes a lot faster than I was expecting.
It does. And then if you turn it that way, just no, other way. Sorry, my fault. Okay, I think that will get us pretty close.
Okay.
And
if you need me to come back, let me know.
I can move my space a little bit. So there we go. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Brittany. All righty, guys. So we have a kit. I forgot to point out the fact that I was wearing the little button that you get in your kit. It says fall is in the air. It's so pretty. And so I thought, well, I should wear it since I'm doing the class today. And what you get in your kit is one pack of 8x8 papers. So that means that it's 8 designs and you get 3 pages of it. And these are the pages that you get size-wise, all these pretty little pieces down here. And we'll take a quick look. You get some instruction sheets. And hopefully the videos will give you a little bit of extra instruction and how to go a little bit further than what they did. I did do one of them pretty much exactly the same as it said to do it. In fact, I might say that maybe I did 2 of them exactly the same so that I could make sure that I was cutting them right. And then I just veered off to the left, and there we go. And I veered left because I'm left-handed. We've already covered that before. You get 6. It's a pack of 5 1/4 by 5 1/4 craft paper. They call it one pack of square cards. But they're not square. They're in this nice long rectangle shape of 10.5, and you have to score them and you have to set them up for cutting. So we'll go over that with one of the examples. All the rest of them, however, have already been created into cards. So we'll have to wait to show you what they look like past the regular rectangle stage. You get a pack of the ephemera, which I have now broken all up and put into sections so that we can do these cards in a reasonable amount of time. I'm going to try and get through 3 of them. 2 of them are straight from scratch, and it does take a little bit of time for me to do them. So just a heads up. And then you have some steampunk decorative metal clocks. And I didn't add any on my original examples. I wanted to save them for us to put on for class. So I wanted to make sure that we save these for that. So you'll get a pack of these. And let's see, was there anything else? The pack, the ephemera, the clocks, and the cardstock, and then the little button. So there's lots of neat things that we have, and let me show you so far the things that I've made. And I was hoping that I would get a little bit more time to get in all the extra pieces, but I will tell you right now, these right here, this and this and this, and all of these cuts right here, all the ephemera that's left over here, and the paper that is left over is this. So look at how much you have left over. It's like having your own little section. I believe that all in all, I have a total of 6 pages left over completely in whole pieces still. Excuse me, I said 6. That's not true because I have 8 whole pieces along with miscellaneous little short pieces. And I think there were even 2 full pieces that were extra on top of it. So this is a lot that is left over. So I might as well show you that mess first because that's fun. And here's all the ephemera that goes with it. Lots of saying words, leaves, acorns. There's some of our leaves, some of our signage pieces, acorns, little sayings. Aren't they sweet? So there is lots and lots and lots in this kit. So I want to encourage you to just enjoy the fact that you will be able to make more, and you'll want to make more because it's such a bright and cheery pack. I really, really love it. So, okay. So I'm going to go through the pictures really quick of the papers because we're going to end up using them, and then I'll show you the cards that we're going to use. But they are so full of colors and life that as we're going through for these pictures, see, this is one that I had as an extra above and beyond my 8 pieces. And so I've still got all my signage still left, an extra page of that. And there's another one in here, so I'll set that aside. These have a lot of detail in them, and they're so beautiful. But I will tell you that if we flip them over, it is much easier to keep track of. So if you're trying to keep track of what papers we're using, these seem to have a little bit more difference, because if I flip them over, you're going to see how much you're looking at. And so this gives you a vast array of what the papers are on the back. And I think that it will make it easier when we're identifying things. So just be prepared to have the back sides. But for right now, for the moment, let's take a quick look at what you get. So there's this one with the pumpkin patch and the crows with the wheelbarrow. You have some beautiful pumpkins. This is probably my favorite paper. And I will try and give you the names of each of these as we go. And the names are right up here in the corner. It says Hello Pumpkin, and then here's your name. So if you haven't done a Graphics 45 before, this is a perfect one to do. It's a lot of fun, and it's so pretty. And, you know, everybody gets Christmas cards, but I think both my mom and I for years have tried to make sure that we do things at Thanksgiving time to say we're thankful for you. And sometimes we skip the Christmas cards and go straight to and just do Thanksgiving. So we've both done that in the past, and I like it. It's a nice surprise, and it kind of starts out the holiday season very nicely. And I always feel like Thanksgiving somehow gets missed in everything. So for me, my favorite is fall, but Christmas lights are also very important, people, especially to the little ones. Okay, so there's the cover. So I will try and keep the papers handy to be able to tell you which packs we're using, which papers we're using as we go. So these are some of the ones that were made. This is an exact replica of what's on the front of the example paper. So if you come in here, and if we were to zoom in on these little pictures right here, that one would be this little one in the middle. It's also down here as an example. It's the first one on the list. And it's a nice little wheelbarrow. And it comes through. And you have all of these cards. And then I just started digressing from there. So this is where we started, but I didn't stick with the same colors on the inside. I just did things very differently. And what I like about these cards, and the camera is a little, we'll maybe have to pull it back here in a little while to show you the dimensions of the card, but you can just see how it fills absolutely every little piece. Hi, Pam. So you basically are not seeing the card itself except for around the edges. And these, like I said, I didn't use the kit because I wanted to save the kit for using with you guys. So I saved them and we're using them today. But these are the original examples on some extra cards that I had. So there's number one. This is one that I put together after a little while. Fall, sweet fall. So it's got all these extra changes on the inside. And I just loved all those leaves. Aren't they beautiful? And you can go and come in here and you can put some of your ephemera if you wanted to, or you could just make a little spot right here and make a little note in that area as well. So they really are beautiful. And our envelopes, this is our envelope for this one. So everyone has a matching envelope. This one has this envelope. It goes along with its front theme with the wheelbarrow. And everything matches so well that even if you maybe weren't paying really close attention, and because I do that, I don't pay attention, or I'm trying to pay attention and I just get sidetracked. So with these, you'll find that you may drift in your prints, but it's okay because you get to do lots and lots and lots of them, and they all match. They all work well together. So here's another wheelbarrow that I did that's a long wheelbarrow, and that's the inside. That hello pumpkin, the camera is having a tough time reading that, but looks like this on the outside. I think I need to move this way. There we go. So absolutely love these. And here's another one. These I've kind of set aside as my ones that I want to talk about just because they're done differently. And it's not in your directions. So the gist is there, but some of the layouts are very different than any of your examples and things to talk about. So here's another one of them. And then you just pop it open and there's your pumpkins. Fall is in the air. And then you have this really pretty, and then they stand like this. So you can see them from so many different directions and just truly enjoy almost every side. Maybe the back side isn't. It's a little boring. But for the most part. It's there. Now, these are some of the tricks and tips. When you make your card, you're going to want to tip it back behind that pumpkin. But when you open it, it will open and then sit in front. So this kind of goes into the background of the card. It's really, these are ingeniously made. So I'm glad that we've had the opportunity to do these. And that they came out with a kit just in time for this, for fall, because let's face it, we move on past and above and beyond. These are the two that we're going to work on first. And then these are some of the ones that I was able to make with the extras. And you saw my pile. So I still have that much extra from one kit that's left over. And I've already made all these. I have my envelopes covered. I've got my cards covered on every single side except for the back. And inside, front side, it's all covered. So these are some extras. And I wasn't skimpy with the papers. This has 3 layered papers on it. This one has 3 on the front layered up, and then it's got 2 on either side, and then I have this little fold out piece. Looks like that. I'm sorry, Glenn, that you're not feeling good. Migraines are a really tough thing. I do understand. So thank you for even checking in. And then this is my last one. And again, there's like lots of different pieces on here to be able to already have on here. So there's lots and lots of paper, and you can use it to your heart's content. In other words, you can fall in love with the paper and you can just keep using it. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with our first one. I'm going to start with a square first, just because it's a little bit easier. And this is the one that we're going to do together from scratch. So we have several background papers. Oh, here's some of my extra pieces are kind of trying to hide out. So look at that. It's just pretty all in of itself with the 3-dimension from here. Look at that. And then as you open it, it just has lots of different places to look and see, and it all blends together. And I really like how it has this space so that from any angle, you're looking at something. Look at that. So I really, really think that this is a neat idea, and you can use it not just here. You can use this style of card and learn how to make this kind of card and use any paper that you want. So hi, Annette. So hopefully we'll be able to make it through at least the 2, because as we know, I am not fast like Debbie is. But let's set aside what we need for this one, and so that you know what we've got. So we have our, I'm going to move this off to this side. Okay, so we have our little purple pumpkin. We've got one of the brown leaves. The wording, Hello Pumpkin. The big orangish white pumpkin. And I know that I usually do this, make these cards upside down for me, but right side up for you. And I have to be honest, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that this time around. So from there, I just use the pieces that I have, that I've already cut, I've pre-cut out, so that it at least makes it a little bit faster for us. So this came in on one of our pages. It was, I told you that I would try and keep up with this, so I will try. It was on the Fall is in the Air, and it's right there. The one right below it says Fall, Sweet Fall, I believe. So it's right there. We have a 5 1/4 piece by a little bit more of the farmer's market that we're going to use. And we will end up needing a square for the inside when we cut it. So this is the square that we're going to be needing, and it ends up being the square that we cut is 3 5/8 by 3 5/8, and then you cut your square of the paper out of the middle of this, and it's 3 1/2 by 3 1/2. So we'll have that one. We have some slip-in pieces that we have to have, and so it is also from the same paper. So you can see where I got it from right there. The next paper that we're using is, where is one of my papers? I think I'm missing a paper. That's not good. Oh, no, I have it. The other paper is this one. This one is called Hello Pumpkin. Is that right? Yes, Hello Pumpkin. It's this paper, and we're going to use the bottom of it. So you're going to cut off the top, and we're just going to use the bottom of this one so that we can use this for other things up here. So when you cut these strips, they're very specific to the size of the card. So because the cards are 5 1/4, this is cut along the 8. You're going to measure it, and you're going to cut either from the bottom down to here at 5 1/8, or you're going to cut from the top up. If you were using the top of your 8-inch paper, you would have left over. So it's 5 1/8, and we're using the entire piece in the inside of the card. So each one of these, you'll see a 5 1/8 by 8 paper. And then I just had this extra piece of leaves that I had as a strip that came off the top of one of the sections. And so this is a section that we end up using to slide into the back side of the, or excuse me, we use right back here in order to finish off the card. So the other one is the slide-in one. So bear with me because I may have to correct myself. And if you have any questions, please ask, and I will try and look up as much as I possibly can. So we're going to start with our card strip. Remove all of these extra papers because they don't matter right now. We're just going to do this. So the first thing that you're going to do, they're already set up to the right size. They are 5 1/4 inches wide of craft paper. And so from there, you need to fold it at 5 1/4. So then that way we end up with a nice square of 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. So just put it right on up and in. And since you're going to cover it, I've made notes on mine. You're going to cover it pretty much everywhere except for on the back. So if I want to make notes so that I remember everything, this is a great way to do it. But you'll want to make sure that you put it on the inside of your card. So then that way all your papers are covering it. So it's a 5 1/4 score. And when you get ready to set up your cut, so here I'm folding it, and I'm going to go through, and I have to be really honest, I did this a way that would be really simple for me, and it may not be as simple for somebody else, but for me, I really liked it. It worked well, and so I think that I'm going to continue to use it. Just grab any slips, any extra piece of scrap that you have laying around that is a good stronger piece of cardstock, so just some extra that you have hanging around, and cut it down to 3/4 of an inch. So this will make this one 3/4 of an inch. And it just makes it really easy to mark your cards. And you'll see what I mean here in just a second. So because I have my 3/4 of an inch, we're going to be going all the way around the card. And I just butted it right up against like this. And I did it on my scoreboard technically. So I'm going to go back to that really quick. So here's my card. I know that I'm going to need 3/4 of an inch that I have to cut out all the way around my card. So in order to do that, this was the easy way. Now, if you want to go and sit and count everything out, that is okay too, because you can do that. And for some people, it's easier to look at everything. But if I have a manual tool to help me out, I'm going to take advantage of it while I can, especially when I want to do things quickly and I don't want to have to worry about, did I get that right? Because to err is human, right? So we're going to mark everywhere by 3/4. It doesn't matter that you've marked it because it's going to get covered up. Does that make sense? Okay. Now I have my square and it's already done for me. So I could have gone through and I could have taken and counted in my 3/4. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and because I have the lines and it's easy, I'm going to just show you which way you can do it for either one. So here I've marked, I know that this is 3/4 of an inch to this side of this cutter. I'm making my lines. Excuse me. I'm making my little piece. You can't do this with one of the, and I know that Debbie has talked to you guys about this, but you cannot take and make and use a trimmer that is like the crocodile because it needs to be able to lift and set. So we're going to just tuck it right in, have it at 3/4 of an inch. I can see my line, which makes it easy for me there. And then I know that I don't go any further than that line. And then I'm not having to worry about, oh, did I get it exactly where I need it by making the lines ahead of time. So it is my cheat. I am perfectly okay with filling you in on my cheat. I like my cheat. Some of you might not like the cheat. And that's quite all right. You don't have to. I've done it on this side before, but it's just so thin on this side. See, I don't have a lot of space. So when I do this, I move up to this side and then I bring it on in so that I can see it and cut. Can you do me a huge favor, Brittany? Can we move out just a little bit? Thank you. Here she comes to save the day.
You said out?
Yeah, just a little bit. I just need a little bit more workspace. Perfect. Thank you. I think that gives everybody the chance to see. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Hey, it's so much better than having to stop and hop around and say, hang on just a second, everyone. back to the 3/4. Got it right there. Lift it up. You can really set it anywhere on your line so long as you don't move your line. Once you make this decision, it's set. So if you're a little off, well, then you're a little off. And you can correct it if you have a good sharp trimmer. If you, for some reason, didn't end up on all of your lines, see that line right there? This one right here, it is really, really close. I can still see just barely a little tiny bit of my line, but I'm not going to worry about that because there's nothing wrong with it. So we're going to take the middle and we're going to set it aside. Do not lose it. Set it somewhere where you know that it's going to be because you're going to need it. Okay, with that being said, we are going to go through and we're going to take our paper that we need to cut, which is the farmer's market, and we need to cut it at 5 1/8. So I have already cut it at 5 1/8 this way, but because I have to cut off the top little piece for you so I knew what to tell you guys the name of the paper was, that's what I'm cutting off now. Otherwise, it's already at 5 1/8 all the way around. Okay, you're going to take it and you're going to put it on the inside of your card. Doesn't matter really if it's right side up or not. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to line it up and see how close to that edge it is. It's really, really close. So you can, and I will tell you right now, there have been times where I have made this, made the square a little bit smaller so that I could see the card around it a little bit more. And so there really is not a right and a wrong. Does that make any sense? Okay. I've put washi tape on the back, on the inside to hold it in place because now we're going to use our square as our next template. And you cut a 1/16 of an inch outside of this square. And what I mean by that, put this part aside for a little bit because we're not going to need it for a minute or two. Take my washi tape and put it back down. And so hopefully you guys can see the lines. It's a little bit busy paper, but it should show up. I'm using ink instead of pencil. I highly recommend, and it was very, very easy by using pencil instead of ink, because then you could erase it in case you didn't quite get outside of that line. But the inside of, by drawing on the inside of the square here, what it means is that you would be butting right up against here. And their goal is to give you just a little tiny peak of that brown, just like it is around the outside edges. So if you look at this one, this is my cream one. See how I've got these little tiny cream edges, and they're there so that you, it's almost like a peekaboo type thing. So you want to be on just barely past the line. And what I mean by that is I just kind of played it by ear. It's really just kind of an eyeball. I'm sure that somebody out there can probably measure it and figure it out exactly, but I did not do it that way. And I'm usually pretty specific about exactly what I do because I want to make sure that when I tell you guys, I know that I've done it, and I know exactly where to put it. But in this particular case, I'm just going just a hairline past. I need to move it over. I was going to cut straight on the line if I set it down and I needed just a little bit more. So it truly is just a hairline past each of those lines. And for whatever reason, this trimmer really makes it easy to set those. It just kind of runs smoothly right along. So I don't know if they had this in mind when they made this trimmer, but it just seems like I'm not fighting with it at all. Gotta push my line in a little bit more. And you can see with your little arrow piece if you need to move it one way or the other when you get ready to push it down. So now I'm ready to push down again and go through it, just a hairline over, and the last one. So what I recommend is that if you want to cut as much as you can before you get started, I recommend that you just do your cutting and set them aside, because it will make it a lot easier instead of back and forth with the glue and so on. But in order to see it from start to finish, I'm going to do it by not doing a setup ahead of time. So this is my outer piece, and you will see that it's going to go right here just perfectly all the way around. If you for some reason did not give it enough of a hairline anywhere on it, you can absolutely go back in and cut a little bit off of the top or a little bit off of the bottom. There's no right or wrong there. So I'm going to set the trimmer aside, and we're going to take the glue. And thank goodness Debbie has a really full tacky glue right here ready to go, because that was my problem that took me a really long time. Was my tacky glue was almost out, and I would keep laying it down in my lap to keep it nearby. So I would put the lid on and lay it in my lap, and I would have to hold it upside down and shake it and beat it, and it took forever. But this is so much faster and easier because it's all ready to go. So the things that you have to make sure that you're doing is that whatever's going to be your top and your bottom, you're going to want to make sure that you have your card where you want it to sit. So, because this is directional. So like I said, I'm not going to do it upside down for you guys just because I don't want to make a mistake here. Make sure that it squares off. Okay, I needed her little coffee cup is what I needed. Okay, so remember I said you're going to need your little square a little bit later. Well, that is because you need to cut down your card to 3. You need to cut out your middle piece to 3 and 3/8, 5/8. Just a second. Let me read that a little bit closer. 3 and 5/8. So that's just on the other side of a half. And that's just to give you that little bit of space so you kind of have a peekaboo for the other side of your card, because you can see it through the back. So here's 3 1/2. Oops. I was already pretty close. And then you'll need this piece of your card is 3.5 by 3.5. And you're going to use the opposite side, so you don't have to worry about is my ink or my ink pieces showing, because you're going to use this side of it, not this side of it. So it doesn't matter if your ink pieces show or not. And I just go ahead and I do this now so that it's done, and I've got two pieces together so that I don't somehow misplace them, especially with how many different pieces each one of these cards take. So you know, these cards are beautiful and they turn out so pretty, but it takes work in order to make them that way, and it's all in the details. So be prepared for a little bit of detail, but almost, except for a couple of pieces that I did some fussy cutting with on mine, everything was done with a trimmer. So you shouldn't have to be in with your scissors cutting anything, except for the envelope. Okay, so I've made my square. I'm going to now set that aside. And then from here, I have this piece of paper that is going to go on the inside of the card. And we have to make sure that when we do this, that you're choosing the correct side that you want to show. So it's what do you want over here on this side? So you can totally do it this way. And then you have, I'm going to have all these extra squares around me. If you do it this way, then what you have when you're done will look, will have a different look than maybe what someone else would do. So you have to kind of just decide, what do I want it to look like? How do I want it to look? Make sure that your directions are the same. If you've got directional papers, make sure that you take your paper and you just slide it in on the front side so you don't make a mistake, so that you know that you've got the right, it's up right here and it's up right here. So just be aware of that when you get ready to glue. And we're not quite there yet, but we will be really soon. So I've got it in its upright position, but this is going to be the inside of my card. So I'm going to make sure that I keep it there. Okay, so this is where I'm going to put it, and this is what it should look like when I get to this point. So now you're going to take your score board and you're going to take it at 2.5 inches. Yes, 2.5 inches. And you're just going to run a score line down it. And at 5.5 inches, 5.5, just want to make sure, because I don't want to say the wrong thing. 5 1/8. See, I'm glad I made sure. So then I'm going to take and I'm going to run that at 5 1/8. And then I have to run the last one just because of how it is set up on this scoreboard. But your last line should be at 7 3/4, so that you have a little tiny quarter tab down here. But because I'm using a smaller one, I'm having to flip it over to make that last quarter fold. So you have a 2.5 on the left side, approximate 3/4 of the way through, 2/3 of the way through. You're going to put one at 5 1/8. And then you're going to put your last one at 7 3/4. So when you are there, it will look like this. This one is one fold. This one is another fold. And I did fold them both ways just to make sure that I had everything that I needed and where I wanted it at all times, because I'm gonna double check things as I go, and I'm gonna have to flip things around as I go. And pardon me, I did not turn off my phone. Okay, I think that turns it off. I don't know. Yep. All right, shouldn't bother us anymore. Sorry, guys. Okay, so from here, we're going to take and we're going to just use our little 1/8 of an inch. It's kind of, I don't want to say that it is too loosey-goosey with the, I just said that. I did. It's not too loosey-goosey. You want to try and keep it at that 1/8 of an inch as much as possible. So I've put some washi tape on the back to hold it in place here and here. And then I just want to keep my pieces kind of straight, not moving anywhere. You can even flip your washi tape over the edges to hold it into place. See, it's not going to hurt anything. It will still stick to all your stuff. It's still straight because I should still see that 1/8 of an inch in the right places. So now I can take this one off, and I'm just going to put the last one right over into here so that I know that I've got it where I want it and that it will stay. And I thought that it's where I wanted it, but I got a little bit carried away. There we go. Okay, so this is where it should look like on the inside. You'll have these pieces washi tape down, and then we're going to flip it over. And you're going to go through and you are going to draw on your paper, which is really tough, by the way. I'm just going to let you know it's hard for me to do this. So you're going to go through and you're going to mark it from where your next score line is. This is your 2.5 score line right here. You should be able to see it or feel it in my case, because this is the graph. This is the plaid section, so you can, it's kind of hard to see it, but I can definitely feel right there that that's my score line. So I know that here I want to make a line and that I'm stopping at the score line. Okay. Now you won't see any of this. So even if you go past your score line a little bit, it's okay. Because your card, this piece of it, will be sitting here and kind of hiding in plain sight for you. But for right now, we're using this. Okay. So take your washi tape. I'm telling you, your washi tape or your masking tape or your Post-it note tape, whatever it is that you like to use that will come off and go back on easily is what you need to use. So some washi tapes can be really sticky. You don't want really sticky ones. You want some that are going to release pretty easily. I wouldn't like this for dye attachment, but I do like it for what I'm doing here because I'm going to have to move my paper. So now that I have the lines here on my plaid, trust me, it's there. Now that I have the lines on my plaid, I have to do the exact same thing again where I'm cutting just a little bit outside that line, because on the inside now we want to have a little line. Find your score spot. Don't go past it, or at least don't try not to go past it, I should say. If you go a little past, it's okay. It's not going to show up, but we want to try and keep the strength of the card as much as possible. Go just a little 1/16 of an inch past your lines that you've created on the outer side of them, not the inner side. So your cut is going to be on the outside of the line, and that goes against what we think that we should be doing, right? Or at least it did for me. Find my line up here, line it on up, and then move on down. And then one more. Didn't quite cut all the way. Didn't quite go far enough on this one. And these little pockets like this are really easy to get in there and clip. You don't have to, oh, I've got to have little scissors around anywhere, because you don't. You're good. So you can see that I've cut up through here. Sorry, the paper's really hard to work with on the camera. So hopefully you can kind of see where one of my, lines down. No, it's really hard to pick up with this, but there's a line right in there that goes across. So I know that I've now made all my clear lines. I have the line still sitting on my page, so I know I gave it at least that 1/16 of an inch. I can see my score line here. And so right here, we're going to cut that off. It seems counterintuitive, and it's a little scary to do for the first few times that you go to do them, I have to say. You can do it with your trimmer. You can do it with your scissors. I did it both directions just to see, because some people trust their scissors more than they trust their trimmer to do precise things. And I tried both directions, and they both work great. Set that aside. You never know where you might need it. You might need it for this side. It's all those little extra papers that I pointed out to you earlier. You can use each and every one of these little pieces, I have a feeling, if we use them. Okay, so now that I've cut that, I'm bringing this card piece back in. Any questions so far? It is very, very pretty paper. Yes, if this doesn't make you want to go pick some apples and go and, let's see, Emma and I did a pumpkin patch field trip with the school last week. And she had a blast, and we got a pumpkin. And now we just have to go to the apple orchard and pick up our apples and pears. They're not just the apples, they're pears as well. And I got busy talking, and we're only supposed to glue up to that score line. So sorry, guys. All right, so make sure the card is open, directional. We're still there where we need to make sure that we're directional. And it looks like my trimmer missed a corner up here. It's not quite straight, and you don't see it until you get ready to go lay it down. So my guess is that it's there, just, yep, it was there, just it was hanging on by a little tiny piece. Okay, let's try that again. So by using your glue instead of tape, it's going to be kneaded through here. So I don't think that using finger lift tape will work very well. It would make it a little bit faster, I think, to make, but it definitely is not. So from here, when you line up, you're going to line up because you trust the lines that you've cut. But another way to check it is that your score page will, your second score line, because we scored here, here's our second score line, should end up right in the fold of your card. Okay. Now, it's going to go out the other way, but remember I said that I would check them and make sure that they were where they needed to be, so I fold them both directions, and that's exactly what I just did. I wanted to make sure that my card line matched up with my score line. So from here, you are going to have this side that's half done and half empty. And this is what allows that card to turn. And then the rest of that mechanism is right here. And this is the part that always amazes me when we get to here. And that is that this piece pops out. Fold it up over here. And to be honest with you, there have been times where I've gone, well, my score line isn't completely where I want it, and I can move it here. And it doesn't seem to show any major wear and tear. So just so that you're aware, this is where I wanted it to sit. Is going to be right through here. And my score line is off by just a little tiny bit. So I'm reworking my score line. Because I don't want my card to poke out of the front of my card. And if I don't straighten up my score line, then it will do just that. What it tells me is that I didn't glue my piece down straight. Okay, so now that I have that, you're going to take and put your little 1/4 of an inch tab here at the very back, and you're going to just add some of that glue on. Go ahead and give yourself enough to let it have a little bit of movement. So here we go. You're going to have your side. This is the side for you to be able, you can see the words. So this is your direction, because I wanted you to be able to see, because this is so small. The little tab is right here. And if you just will fold your card up and against it, that is where you want it to be. It should have a shape. And then you can always rework it if it's like too high or too low for your little tiny edge right there. You still want your 5/8 of a line, or excuse me, your 1/8 of a line, 1/16 of a line. That's what I'm trying to say. Your little 1/8 of a line should be at the top and the bottom. Anywhere around really is where it's going to be. So this right now is our mechanism. If you look here, it looks kind of funny still. but that's okay because we'll fix it here in just a second. So remember I told you that we cut a little section here, and I will tell you right now that when I cut too fast and one side of it was crooked compared to the other side when I did this. So I need to fix my problem. I have no idea how it happened, but it did. And then once I straighten that out, let me give you the measurement here. So your measurement will be 5 1/8 because that's how long you need it to be. So 5. Five and an eighth. So you're going to cut it off there. And the width is 2 3/8. So you'll have a little square left over. So there's now another little square. I just totally forgot. I did it wrong. That's okay. We'll just go ahead and we'll do it this direction. My fault. We'll go ahead and we'll tuck those leaves right in here. It's already 5, guys. This is definitely going to be one of those that will take time, so I'm sorry. The next section will go a little bit faster just because we will have cut one, and the only difference is we're making a rectangle instead of a square. So from here, you're just going to take and you're going to slide your 2 3/8 piece by 5 1/8 right in here. And you may decide that you want to glue it up underneath this section, but don't do it. You may think, oh, well, hey, that's a great way to hold it so you don't see a little seam. You may see a little seam in there with some craft paper in it. That's okay. You will not see it when the card is open and sitting. You will not see that seam. If you put it underneath your little trim piece right here, it will bulk up this trim piece and it will not lay flat and nice and pretty when you get ready to use it. So I'm going to use this section because I messed up on what I was supposed to be using where. That's what happens when you don't look at your sample. So I'm going to cut that at 5 1/8. And if I pre-measured correctly, we should be pretty close. Yep. Okay. And then there's my little cut I made. So I found this really interesting. Once we changed the blade, this blade seems to pop out easier, and I don't know what caused that to happen, but okay. So this little section right here should be approximately 2 5/8. So 2 5/8 by 5 1/8. And it just sits right in there, pretty as can be. Anybody have any questions? I see that we don't have a lot. Oh, guys, I'm really not paying attention to myself. Am I? Wrong side. Somebody should have yelled, wrong side. So now I'm just lining it up with the trim. And you want to put it over that trim piece. You're just basically hiding that trim piece, but you're giving it enough movement to be able to fold in. So it still will want to fold like this, okay? So you just have to have enough space for that movement. Okay, I'm going to leave that open for just a second, just to be able to let that finish drying now that I made the mess. That's when I need a paper towel. There we go. Okay. So we're going to take, and now we've got our inside, we've got the back, we've got this inside piece, backing, your window. This is what you should see from the inside. This is what you should see from the outside. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we are going to attach our square onto this piece of the card. And we have a nice little space for our card to move in and out with. I think that gives us everything that we need. Yep. Okay. So the goal is right through here. So if you want, you can just do your glue here like this. It's probably the most fail-safe way of doing it. Or you can put it on the back of the card and hope that you line up right. But this is how I will do it when I'm online cameras. I'm online, so in that way I don't have to fix another mistake. Because it's easy to happen. You want to think 2 and 3 steps ahead to make it easy for you, and you don't notice. Easy for people when we're talking about it, and then I don't notice, oh, hey, I missed a step. That's my fun thing. So now that we've put that lip on there, and you'll want to definitely give them time to dry. I noticed that one person, when they do these, that they go through and they will actually use their bone folder back and just reline everything up and use it this way. And it really probably isn't a bad idea. It will make sure that your glue settles down a little bit. So now you have this. So now you can see we're now there. From here, it's just about embellishing. So it may be a picture that you're going to put on the front, or you're going to create a space. And in this particular one, these are all of our ephemera that we talked about just a minute ago. There are a couple of different things you'll want to make sure that you are aware of. One is that if it's on the front, do not glue it onto here, or else you won't be able to open your card. You can glue it onto here, which is what we're going to do. But if you notice, it's on here. It's not on the actual square. If it touches that square, then you won't have that function. See what I mean? Now, when you first do your card, you can make sure that this piece is forward so that you can have it lay like this. And then when you open it, it will pop back behind that piece, and then you'll have it sit like this when it's open. But when you want to present it and put it in your envelope, you could move that out if you want to. But to me, it seemed to work either direction, so I wasn't too worried about it. Okay, so as we go through, let's go ahead and we're going to glue this piece on. I want to make sure that I don't go too much bigger than that because of the envelope. So I did take it in an exaggerated space. So again, make sure that when you do glue this, that you're going to put it on just on the square, not on the outside frame square, not on the inside square. There we go. So that's my start off point, and then from there I built up the rest. So I want this to sit up into here. I want this. I think I went this way and then here, and then brought the other one in here. I didn't like the purple pumpkin, honestly, at the beginning of making these. And in fact, I almost completely left it out. In the other picture, it just has two of the pumpkins, and I almost just left out the purple one. It was really bothering me. But on camera, it looks different, and in the photographs, it looks different. It is not as strong of a purple as it looks like when I was looking at the photographs of it. So by pulling it out and looking at it, I was able to go, oh, hey, this isn't a bad thing, really. Actually, after all, it actually looks quite nice together. And it has the brown, the purple notes, but it also has the brown notes to it. So and then this one, I think all of these were set up with no foamies. They were all glued one to the other. And I decided that I would do my examples that way, but that I would make it with a little bit more dimension and see what I thought of it. You can't do it on these pieces because if you do, you'll end up with it catching somewhere along the way. So it does have to stay flush where you have to clear spots. So like right through there where I have to clear that hump, I don't want it to have a problem. And as it is, I made it too low. So because I made it too low, now it folds out a little bit. So what I want to do is I'm just going to come in and change my swoop a little bit. And only you, me, and the rest of the world that saw me make the mistake would ever know that it didn't exist this way to begin with. Okay. So by cutting out that swoop, it will allow me to move it up and over. So it just didn't line up quite the same. It still doesn't want to. Oh, we're going to fix that. Okay. I just took and I made a little fine clip right here. You probably won't even be able to see it. It hangs over the one just a little bit. So you can pop it forward. And then when you open the card, it will pop it back and it will just fold into place. See that? So and then my leaf is going to come and tuck under here, but I only want to glue it to my card, not to the frame. My card in the middle. So okay. So there I have those. And now I want to open it up and put in my little bird right there. Just on that side. You could put it down lower and make it kind of like a little pocket. In fact, why not? Let's do that. Oh, I guess I did it in the other one too. So you can use one of your other pieces of your pockets or one of your other pieces of paper and slide one in there that maybe says something different, or write your little note on there and tuck it in. So this is how you do the card set if it's in a square. So lots of specifics, but not hard. These are not going to be something that you're going to sit down and make in 30 minutes. I'm going to be really honest with you there. I don't think that yeah. Most people will not do these in 30 minutes. There will be some of you that can do it in 30 minutes, but most people are going to be, it will be more like 30 minutes to 45 minutes, especially as you're first starting out. As you keep going, it will get quicker and easier. And especially if you prep all of your cuts and you do all the stuff ahead of time, and then you just assemble at the very end, it will go a lot smoother for you and it will go faster. So this is the one with the foamy on it, and this is the one with not. So I kind of like that little bit of extra dimension in this one. It definitely gives it a little bit more like it's popping out instead of so flat. This makes it look like it's all one piece, and this gives you that ability to kind of have a little bit more. So one versus the other, and that is number 1. And sorry guys, because these do take time. This is number 2. Okay, so we're making a rectangle this time. And this time I'm not going to go through and slow down so much to show you each and every cut that I'm doing. We'll just go through and we'll put it all together. Okay, so I still did not cut anything in this one so that it would be a brand new piece for you to be able to see how to do the rectangle. One of the ways to do the rectangle is to be able to decide approximately where you want it to be. But the measurements that I have is that I'm cutting it 3/4 of an inch from the top. So I know that I've got 3/4 here. So this is me cutting without a pencil mark. And it's 3/4 from the top of the card, and it's 1.5 inches here. So I want to make sure that I cut it at just 1.5 inches. 1.5. It's right there. And then my sides are 1/2 inch. That's it. So they're pretty narrow. And because they are just 1/2 inch, I'm going to mark them. An inch. And 1/2 inch from this side as well. And if you look in your rectangle section of your directions, they don't have these exact measurements. They come out a little bit differently, but I found that it was really tough to stay within the parameters that they were trying to create with it. So I went ahead and I did it at these. And so you can decide if you don't want quite as large of a hole or something like that, but I found that it actually worked out pretty well. And my 1/2 inches are off on each one, so that'll be fun. Okay, let's take a look. These are right on the lines. Don't mix these up with your frame. Your frame is on the out, a 1/16 of an inch on the outside, but while you're making the card, you're still within your lines. I have a feeling that it is this line that I'm working with. So 1/2 inch each side, 3/4 of an inch from the top, and 1.5 inches from the bottom. That is where your rectangle should end up. And the rectangles are definitely a little bit more work, and that's why I wanted to do one with you guys. It was because they do cut differently. The squares are definitely easier. But I wanted to show you that it's doable, and you can do it. I know you can. Perfect. Okay, we're going to set this off to the side. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our square. That's 5 1/8 of an inch. Square all the way around. We're going to turn it inside out and tape it to the inside so that we can make sure to follow our lines. Use your washi tape to hold it into place. Draw your lines. There's our lines. That's what we want it to look like, and we are going to cut it on the outside of those lines. Sixteenths of an inch. Okay, 1/16 of an inch from the outside, each direction. Thank you, Debbie. Going to go through. Got our next one. And our last one. So there we go. Save your card, set it aside. It's not as important with this one just because this is kind of like our main card and we have to cut it down. So there's not going to be a lot behind this one because it is more of a rectangle. Okay. Glue it on up. Somebody sounds like they're blow drying the outside. I think they're trying to clean off all the leaves. There we go. Okay. Now we're going to take our inside paper. Going to cut that down to 5 1/2 by 8. Excuse me, 5 1/8 by 8. And this is the Hello Pumpkin. It's the leaves on one side. It's got the words on the other. And this other one that I used on the front has the little square pumpkins and then has the little tiny pumpkins on the back side. So that's how you can tell that one. Okay, so we want the leaves to show, we don't want this to show. So that's exactly what we're going to do, is just make the leaves show. Score. So we're going to score at 2.5. At 5 1/8. And at 7 1/8, or in my particular case, 7 3/4. But in my case, because I've got a little board, I'm doing 1/4 inch on the back end side, equals out the same measurement. So 2.5, 5 1/8, and 7 3/4. So again, double check that you got everything where you need it. Make sure that everything is folding flat and evenly. And then we're going to take this one and do the same thing again and make ourselves a little window. And this is where you can really tell if you've got your straight line or not. And if your paper cut straight, all those kind of fun things. Line it back to the back of your card. Okay. On the outside, you're going to make your line. And only go up to your first score line. You'll definitely want to stay through the rest of this. I'm running through 2 of these so that you can see how each one is done. However, above and beyond that, there are going to be some ways to cut or set up your ephemera and the fronts of your pieces, and making sure that they line up the way that you want them to. So definitely stay and wait till the very end, because we'll be covering some of those things. And if you don't have time to do that now, just save your spot where you were at while watching this and come back to it a little bit later when you're ready to try this on your own. I accidentally got my corner a little wet on the wipe while we were working on the other piece, and so it's kind of tearing at the paper a little bit because it's wet. Okay, so bring this one up back. I can see when I flip this over by cutting it the way that I did, I kind of am not completely straight. It doesn't matter truly too much if you get it completely straight or not, because it's being hidden by the card, but just for sake of doing it the right way. There we go. So now we're going to glue this onto the inside. Make sure that you leave your little bit of a craft paper line on the inside. And remember, there won't be one on that side, just because that's only half of your frame, so that our mechanism can work appropriately. Fold this flap like this. Take your last little edge and fold it this way. Make sure that this is sitting on the inside of your card because you don't want it to be hanging on the outside. And I found that in general, it usually went pretty well, but every once in a while it would just be off. And so this is a good way to check it. And it looks like it turned out great. So we're going to flip this side up. And so that just takes that fold right there. So by doing it, by folding it over, gluing that little tab and folding the card in half, it does all the work for you. So that you don't have to worry, did I get it straight? Is it where I need it to be? It is right where it needs to be. Okay. Front side of our card, we're going to need our little rectangle, which I was worried about possibly misplacing because I'm trying to move a little bit faster. And sure enough, guess what I did? Misplaced it. Let's see. Well, it's not to my left, which, you know that that's the big thing. It's to your left. Oh, it's because I was making it all nice and pretty over here. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this needs to be about roughly, you're going to take off 1/8 of an inch. And you can really get to the point where you can feel it. You can see where it needs to be, and you do not have to be as specific with your cuts because it does it for you. So I just took 1/4 off of each side, and that gave me enough. In fact, it isn't even quite 1/4, and that gave me plenty to be able to put, to have it clear the frame. And so you really do get to a sense of where it's and what you're going to be using. Or I didn't say that right. You should get a sense of being able to tell how much you're going to be using. And in this case, I think I'm going to glue this on just because it is a little bit different because of that shape. So I'm just going to glue it. I know that my cardboard is right. This is me forgetting to drop it in where it needs to be. We'll use the other one. Okay, you could technically put this on and it would just look kind of very solid in the back, like one size. But I kind of recommend that you don't. Part of what makes this work is having it be the opposite side. And in some cases, you may not want an opposite side. You may want a totally different piece. And I did that in a few places where I had one piece one way and then I did the other. And then I went, oh, hey, I think that I like this polka dot here instead. Okay. And so here is our little saying that we cut out, and this is my fault. I did not tell you what this was, so let me flip it back over so you can get a good look. It says fall is in the air, and it has a little squirrel and little flowers. Yes, you absolutely do have enough paper. As you could see, I was able to get tons and tons and tons out of this and still have some left over. And you can even stick with the one kind and you still have enough paper left over. You'll use it up a little bit more if you continue with the ones that require paper on all different directions. So here's our piece. In this particular case, because of the size of this piece, you will notice that there is not any craft paper that I've cut borders on. And it is just because of the size of this one. So it goes in the middle without it having craft board all the way around it. Otherwise, we would end up missing out on some of it. I'd have to cut off a portion of the border. Okay, so now I'm going to glue onto this side. Just make sure that you center it on the frame. Now, let's see. What did I do next? Okay, so this is the pumpkin. I'm going ahead and I'm putting this side in just to give it a little bit of difference. So this is what's going on in the back here. You could do your leaves. You can totally use some of your leaves and put it in the background that's from this side. But it really has worked all the way around to just give it a background that is similar in color. And what I'm doing here, guys, is right in here. I don't feel like I explained this section as well because I had grabbed the wrong piece. But for in here, you want to make sure that you don't go over onto this side, this side. You don't, let me try my other finger. You don't want to go into this side. So what your goal is to come in, and this will move with each, it will have a little bit of movement with each card. Not any of my cards had the exact same measurement. So I just make a little quick click to see exactly where it needs to be. And I take that and I use that as my as my guide so that I don't clip too much or too little. And then I know that it's going to be cut at that 5 1/8, that 5 inch, 5 1/8 of an inch. So let's see. Okay. Now these pumpkins are going sideways. They're little tiny pumpkins. And on this back section of the card, they do go sideways. I've done that with almost each and every one of these where they go sideways. And in reality, because it's just the back side, you do not really notice that they are sideways. Glue it and slide it on in there. Butt it up against the other paper, but don't force it under that paper or else you'll get a bulge. Nice and easy peasy. Okay, let's take a peek here. Where are we at? We've got the front completely done, the inside here. So now the only thing that we have left to do is the decoration and this little section. So we're going to make this 5 1/8 long. And we're going to mark it for how much I need to cut off. And again, these go back to that idea that each one of these is going to have a little bit of a maker error, I think, because we're not machines and we don't make things that are going to all look exactly the same ever, or at least I would never will. But by clipping that little edge, I know exactly how far I need to take it to give me a little bit of craft line, but not too much. And then the other length is 5 1/8, just like the rest. And now I can just glue it right into place. And I do think this is my favorite. The other one that has the same colors and papers on it is my second favorite. So obviously these are my favorite papers because they are truly just beautiful. So here's my front. Make sure that you don't go up to the point where you can't open your front end. Okay, so it can hang down a little bit, but don't do too much, or else you'll wish that you hadn't. So here's our little leaf, and I'm going to leave a little space because I didn't do it with mine, but we've got our little clocks, and I want to use one of my little clocks there. So I'm going to take kind of a medium size. I also have my little acorns. There are 2 of them, and I just put them right here in the very front, and I think that I am going to glue them together like I did before. But then I'm going to put on one of my little foamies. It didn't seem to get in the way of the last ones, so long as the mechanisms in it work the way you want them to, I think that this should work just fine. The leaves have to sit in behind, so you have to keep the leaves behind, because if you don't, then they'll catch on the front side and you won't be able to use the card. I don't want to open it too much because of that upright, but we'll go ahead and do it once. So here we go. There we are. Okay, so I promised that I would tell you guys to hang in there, and you can always forward to the end when you're visiting later. I want to talk to you about, normally we show each, so here's one versus the other. I want to make sure that we go over a couple of things that you need to know about a couple of the cards. And I'm going to go through them just slowly, but enough for you to be able to do and exactly what I did with each of the cards. Okay. So this one here, we have our pumpkins. We've got that same background on the front. On the inside, I used a leaf background. I have a polka dot here. This is one of the postcards on the back of one of your word pieces. Let me find the right one. This one that has words on the front also has these beautiful little postcards on the back. And so you can cut these out and put them almost anywhere. In fact, on one of them, I used a postcard as the front of my card. So we'll talk about that. But that's where you're going to get these little insets. Some have sat here. I've put some here. You could also do a little square here of something and then drop your note in there if you want. So you've got lots of different places that you can do things. But when you make this, on the inside, I used a section of my green gingham along with the orange Swiss dot. And then I just put in this one. I had a little section of leaves that was left over from something. But you can put in really anything. If you want to hide a little something in there, you can totally do that. And this one is a pumpkin. So you could put that in there, and you can see it doesn't really show up hugely, just here and everywhere. Hi, Mary T. Hi, Lena. So you can put whatever you want on this back section. It doesn't have to match exactly. All the papers go very nicely together. When you have it set up, where you're going to see it is going to be more on the back there than you will there. It will just peek out and somebody will, oh, what's that inside? And then they look in and they can turn their card, and it just makes it fun. So there can be just like a little peekaboo back in there. But they're all made the same way. They're all with the squares or the rectangles. They all have the same scoring lines. And that's really what makes it work, is the score lines and where you place them. For this one on the front, in order to make it happen, I'm using this ephemera and this piece of ephemera. So I'm taking and I'm putting on my little pumpkins on the back side of this paper. There are the pumpkins, just like in the last card. And then I took and I cut out my white pumpkin, and I cut out my orange pumpkin and the flower. So down here, hiding right back here, is a hole where this flower would normally sit. And then that way I was able to slide in my fall here. And by cutting these two out, I then raised my pumpkin. And so my pumpkin here, you can see the wood with the countertop. But what I literally did was I took what I cut out, took this off to the side. What's cut out here, I just moved that pumpkin up and over so that it kind of sits right up in here, so that it will fit into the card. Otherwise, it won't fit. And then I cut out right here along the stem and cut off this portion of the sign. Otherwise, it will not fit, and you will not be able to use it with this kind of a mechanism. So you have to kind of be creative at times. I then took that pumpkin and put it on the front, because you do not glue this section of your pumpkin. It's just on the front. When you go to open it, it will pop out. It will pop that right out, and it will just work exactly the way that it has. You just didn't even notice that it was there before. So when you're looking at it whole from the envelope, it will look like this. When you open it, it will look like this. And now you've got a little pumpkin that's tucked in behind. So it's really important to think about how you want to place these. And there's no rights or wrongs. This is just how I chose to do it and how I learned what worked and what didn't work. And if you notice, on this side, you've still got your pumpkin that you can see from that side of your card. You can see your fall is in the air. So you've got a lot that you can see from any which direction on these cards. It's just amazing, really. They set up so nice and pretty too. So that's how you cut out that one and make it work. Let's see. This one is where I use the postcard in my rectangle. So I used my postcard from the back of this one, and it says postcard on it. And then I took, bear with me here, I want to make sure that I show you the right picture. I took from this one. So we'd already used one of these before, and we used the top section. If you remember right, that's that gingham. We used this top section in the card, but I cut this out by hand. So I did some fussy cutting. It wasn't really difficult. It actually kind of blended very easily. I didn't specifically go in and try and cut every single piece out. In fact, this whole little section right here, I just kind of ran along it and just kind of weaved back and forth. And I didn't take any particular, I've got to make sure that it's just like this. It's not. I took that piece that's right here. So this is the piece that I cut. And it goes on my postcard just like this. And it fits on beautifully. And if you can see the little flowers right there, it will pop back and forth when you open it. It just sits right up and over the top. You can take your leaves. I took one of my leaves and I just tucked it in over here on the side behind. So it just depends on what you choose to cut out versus not cut out. So it's totally up to you, but that's approximately how I had it sitting. And in this particular case, I took one of the leaves and I just cut this one out and I put it over here because I wanted it to be seen. Because this section has these two little stamps on it. And those stamps are on one of these pages of printouts. So it's not this one. It's the other one, of course, this one. So the two stamps of the leaves are right there. So that is how you do this one. This is the paper that I used on this one. It's the pumpkins. So it's it right here on this side is my frame. I used this as a base on the inside of my postcard. And remember, those postcards, you don't really see much of anything other than the actual size of the cutout that you made minus about 1/8 of an inch, because otherwise it just won't fit. And so you need to keep it as close as you can. You won't see a craft paper with those rectangles, or else you'll be cutting into your picture. On the inside, I used our other pumpkin. And our other pumpkin is, let me find the right one here. Let me move those out of the way. Our other pumpkin is this one. It has roses on it. So you can see the difference between the two. So our 5 1/8 by 8 inches long is our flower and pumpkin paper. And it runs from here to here. I slid just regular pumpkins sideways. You can see them in there, but I will promise you, you won't notice them when you're sitting there looking at it. There's not going to be a perpendicular that's going to make that seem odd in any way, shape, or form. It will look really pretty. So it's just regular pumpkins tucked away inside that hole. This paper has the Swiss dots, the orange Swiss dots on the back. And then over here on the side, I just used, remember how I said, oh, hey, this may be a neat place to put something like this? I took exactly some of this paper and that's what I cut into this place. It's a little short, so I needed something to tap to the top. So I just took some extra of this paper and ran it up here along the top line and then glued this to it. So that is how that one gets created. The other one that I have is exactly the same thing as what the directions say. The only thing that I did differently was I did put on some different papers in places just because I wanted it to be, I don't know. I liked what I had. So this has the Swiss paper. It's got the pumpkins with the flowers on it, but it's also got this green background. I used it actually in both sets. So I obviously liked this wheelbarrow idea with this print. But it's the ones with the pumpkins on the back without the flowers, just the pumpkin part. Same thing. So that's what's here. We've got one of those postcard backings here. And then I took my flower rose pumpkin that's on the front. I used it right over here. Used my green, and then I just put a leaf here. And that's a little bit different than what they used in the original directions for theirs. But there's that one. I've covered that one. Covered that one. These are my extra ones. If you miss them, these are just extra cards that I was able to make. And I still have 8 pages left and about half the ephemera left. So you can totally do lots and lots of different things with these. There's one more here that I made that is not in the instructions. So it's just a matter of playing with it, guys, and finding what you like. So I've got my leaf here, but I'm tucking it behind my corner. This pumpkin is in front, but it doesn't affect. So when you're going to put something on a corner that you don't want it to affect or fold over, like that other pumpkin, you want to put them in opposite corners. So this one goes behind and this one goes in front. And it will always be that way because of your mechanism and how the card opens. So your left will be behind and your right will be in front if you don't want to bend any of your ephemera as you go. And then this one is just building up, and this one I put on foamies. So part of the reason why I did that one the way that I did was to see, can I put it up on foamies? Does it work? It absolutely does work. Look at that inside with all those leaves. It's just beautiful from the inside too with all those pumpkins. So I've taken a lot of your time up this evening, but we knew that it was going to be hard to get through just because of how detailed these were. So thanks for sticking it out with me. And thank you for all of your time and effort. Please thumbs up when you watch this again the second time around with your kit. Let me tell you, it is so much fun to make. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of your evening. And if you have any questions, you know where I am. You can always call and ask. All right. We'll talk to you later. Have a great rest of your evening, and we'll see you next week. Oh, Debbie will be here on Saturday. Debbie will be running a rerun on Saturday this week. And so from there, we're going to be starting to kick into our decoupage kits. I believe we have one other one set up that's not Christmas decoupage for this next following week. So Thursday and Saturday next week. We'll have some goodies for you too. So thank you so much and have a great rest of your evening.